Hey guys and gals, it's your buddy Drew with Living History's Mysteries and Ferocious Feline Productions. Looking back through history, as individuals, we very well may look at different aspects of history. Some may look at the colonization, the creation of America. Some might look at the history of man's exploration of the universe, while yet others may look at their own family, their own ancestors' contributions to history itself. A president, a Civil War officer, an outstanding member of the militia during the American Revolution. When I look back in history, I tend to always find those stories that make me ask why. What was the purpose? Why was this done? What was the reason? In today's story, there's two simple answers: more land, and the only way that just check this out. This is good.
Na henet kam. Bawa mun tuwe na ho hewo. Tamha he. Mahakse. Kashkanse. Na mishkiwe. Na owa zi shimasin khvanus. Nakso me etana tuwe na wo estinania. Tina hesinio. Naksume tane dowania. Na meshke watamania. Sevishi kos. Mache mochkef. Timache amahamefus. Tiki kos tivame anaofus. Na hen hier. Hoef timase woyofus. Na nakso hon tsedan ninast mishkehut desash startest zemachiyomata netamst zenachevans na nish tsho yo stachs na ninat khveha zemone masne to nahnis ich mache no na ich das ist so hohe das ist ich das so mal na nicht moment gem durchschen aber in hier Denver have das na wo ist denn eine me wo mit wo ist der Minister wo me pana da wo Hva akstane what? Tish. Musta so. Mun nog se visse hanam ho. Te visto movos. Na henisan ho. Mun shine en hanovo. Te des sa tish. Hoto wa na te hos. na he tomia isa chi shoto wana te here o so in the choto wana te fe henne na mat te se shi yon shi te hepet nis to ya na kimme tana to wini hen here te na hefs na no te no ne momochet na me sa was tishin te do o me te hep na skanum henne na te so his stuff shivingtons na henne na te so ya te house to an na mat na skanum se sha ish am hafse wo hanem o wa nasa me peve me etana to woni na wo stana ne na te shivington mo me se kiame te duchen na owa me se pevait fe pavone tana dost hapo mo moche van he amahamot na nish te he ishe va me ya not mo moche knat na nishin here ho if fe mas vo heya nimeta nishe woni tana do na ms peva owa fe kime etana toast tista sin here tina his na ms peva owa fe issue henne no what hit the how me it
we had a lot of land. And then the miners came through, and the railroads came through. So, and then they put us way over here in this little corner in southeastern Colorado, where there was nothing. There was nothing.
This is the place where they were supposed to get rid of us completely. That was their objective. This is the place that we were supposed to be taken off this earth. They tried.
Back on November 29th, 1864, at 9 a.m. in the morning, Colonel Chivington attacked a peaceful camp of Cheyenne Arapaho people. Black kettles rose the flag and the white flag of truce for protection. But the soldiers, they disregarded the flag and attacked the people, mutilating the dead, cutting parts off them for war trophies.
Can you just imagine everything that went on that morning? And some of the women thought, the buffalo were coming, but instead it was the troops. The horses' hooves. My grandfather was just a toddler. And I read somewhere that the battle lasted like 9 hours. But my grandfather was just a toddler, and he was breastfed. And he had, his older sister was like 4 years old. And their parents hid them under a riverbank, or maybe it was a creek bed, somewhere along Sand Creek and where the battle was taking place. But my grandfather's parents were killed earlier in the battle. Well, I don't like to call it a battle. I call it a massacre. And so they hid under there, till the massacre subsided a little. And then my grandfather got hungry. So his older 4-year-old sister would take him to their dead mother. And he would nurse on his dead mother.
They decimated one whole nation of people, language, culture, history. Massacred.
But we got strong blood. And we're still here. Growing up in Denver, I didn't learn about the Sand Creek Massacre in school. We were taught about the pioneers, the gold rush, about those coming west manifesting their destiny. We didn't learn about the people on whose land we lived. In fact, I don't know that I'd ever met a Cheyenne or Arapaho person until making this film. I asked Dr. Little Bear what he thinks about a white person making a film about Sand Creek.
You know, one of the things that contributes to a lot of the stereotypes about Native Americans is that we are set in a comfortable past for many white people, when actually we're still here.
After Sand Creek, the Cheyenne and Arapaho were forced out of Colorado to reservations in Oklahoma, Wyoming, and Montana. Before starting this film, I go to Oklahoma to meet the Southern Cheyenne Massacre Descendants representative, Joe Big Medicine. Joe instructs me it's customary to make offerings of tobacco and money when approaching tribal representatives with questions. He invites me to the next tribal consultation at the Sand Creek Massacre National Historic Site. On the way there, driving down Highway 96, I pass through a town named for Shivington. In the same Denver cemetery where Shivington's buried lie the Hungates, a settler family murdered on the plains in June 1864. The newspapers blamed Indians, though there was no proof. The family's bodies were publicly displayed in Denver by authorities, inciting fear of Native people and spurring conflicts throughout the territory. In August, Governor John Evans issued a proclamation calling for volunteers to enlist in the cavalry to fight hostile Indians. Later that year, the volunteers of the 3rd Regiment committed the Sand Creek Massacre, and the Hungates became martyrs for manifest destiny. In summer 1864, as violence erupted on the plains following the Hungate murders, Cheyenne Chief Black Kettle wrote to Governor Evans, offering to make peace. That September, at the Camp Weld Conference, Evans told Black Kettle as long as his tribe stayed on their reservation along Sandy Creek, they'd be safe from further attack. So Black Kettle took his people there.
2 officers, Captain Silas Soe and Lieutenant Joseph Kramer, didn't fire on the people. They halted their men to put their arms down. And a lot of the people got away that came from here. Now, I'm an example. If they didn't got away, I wouldn't be here today.
Chief Black Kettle survived the massacre. His wife, Medicine Woman, was shot 9 times, but she survived too. A few weeks after the attack, Captain Silas Soule sent a letter to his superiors describing the massacre in graphic detail. He wrote, You would think it impossible for white men to butcher and mutilate human beings as they did there.
Who was responsible for this attack? The person most responsible was John Evans. Well, John Evans was appointed by President Abraham Lincoln to become the Colorado Territorial Governor in 1862. His major mission was to build railroads in Colorado.
It just so happens that in 1862, Colorado is in line to be part of the transcontinental route to the west. But first, they have to extinguish the title to Indian lands.
And the Indians were looked at as obstacles to progress to a country that was about manifesting its destiny. And we were nothing but savages who stood in the way of that progress.
Once you look at a crime scene, one of the things you look at is what happened after the crime. Within 11 months of Sand Creek, the Cheyennes and Arapahoes no longer have title to any of this land in Colorado.
What John Evans really wanted was to remove the Cheyenne and Arapaho from the eastern plains of Colorado, to get clear title to the land so that he could build his railroad. He, more than any other person, caused the creation of the 3rd Regiment. Think of the 3rd Regiment as a loaded gun. He handed that loaded gun to Chivington, and Chivington pulled the trigger.
We were deemed savages and heathens. And yet the people who did the more savage things, they were glorified.
By the 20th century, John Evans's role at Sand Creek was pretty much forgotten. People of Colorado regarded him as their foremost builder. And to show their appreciation, they named the highest peak in the Front Range after him, Mount Evans. To understand American history, you have to understand it from a different way, a different perspective. And part of that is owning up to all of this. Well, John Evans was not an aberration. He's representative of white America.
Sand Creek was only one massacre that was ever documented. No one doesn't talk about the 300 or 400 years before that, when they were killing them hundreds of thousands at a time.
The genocide started with the doctrine of discovery after Columbus supposedly discovered this country.
People that were about the business of settling this continent from the Atlantic to the Pacific thought that it was their divine right to take the land and to own it.
Four years after Sand Creek, on another cold November morning, General George Armstrong Custer led an attack on a sleeping band of Cheyenne, camped along the banks of the Washita River in present-day Oklahoma. That morning, Black Kettle and his wife, Medicine Woman, were killed.
I had a great-grandmother, White Buffalo woman. She was a midwife and a doctor of horses. From Sand Creek until the day she died in 1938, she never went to bed without her moccasins on. It was for fear of having to flee another Sand Creek or another Washita.
Dr. Mann and I visit the American Indian Cultural Center and Museum in Oklahoma City. It sits empty and incomplete on land that was once a shell oil refinery.
And the state of Oklahoma decided that they were going to create this place dedicated to the 39 tribes located in the state. However, it did not quite work out that way. Construction ultimately had to stop. The money just wasn't there.
I asked Henrietta why it couldn't get funded.
It's an Indian project. Pure and simple.
At the same time the center ran out of money, the 10th tallest skyscraper west of the Mississippi was built for $750 million. It belongs to an oil company.
There's still that whole aspect of manifest destiny that you can still see in different forms.
The tribes had worked for decades before finally getting Sand Creek named a National Historic Site in 2007. During tribal consultations, the representatives stay in Lamar, about 35 miles south of the site. I asked Karen Little Coyote if she feels welcomed in Lamar.
I just know they're not too friendly around here. You know, the other night we pulled up to Hickory House, and there was 3 ladies up there by the cash register, and then they kept looking out and seen us standing there, and that one went over there and locked the door. We would have still had time to go in. I hope that they'll come to understand that that's a very derogatory name. And what if we had an Indian school? What if we called them the pale faces, you know, or whiteys?
I still remember hearing some of my teachers when I was in grade school. Indians can't learn. Even up to high school when I wanted to go to college. Counselor asked me, well, what you gonna do after high school? I said, well, I'm gonna go to college. He chuckled. Said, don't you know Indians don't go to college? I told him, I said, well, this Indian's gonna go to college.
Be careful. Been told ever since I was a little boy. They're tricksters. We remain very cautious. Even like when you came to interview me, I was suspicious, and I told you outright, why are you doing this? I'm still that way. I've been taught that way by my parents and them by their parents. Just like what happened down there. Put that American flag up, your white flag. American troops won't hurt you. It's been violated over and over and over again. When some of the survivors from Sand Creek moved north, our northern people saw them. They wept for them. The spirit of revenge was so powerful. They raided constantly down on the trails and roads that went into Denver City, killing white people whenever they could. And well, I could almost feel that in my body, in my thinking.
Fort Robinson, the Washita, Sand Creek. We still end up talking about them every day as if they are still a part of us, and they still are. Because we look at life and time in the circular fashion, not linearly. With a linear history, not only does it recede backwards, it becomes different geographically. Maybe it becomes plowed land. Maybe trees are cut down. Somehow it's altered. Hisil is the Cheyenne name for Sand Creek. Hisil means a lot of things. It encompasses all the spirituality of that area, of the people who died there, all these memories.
My great-grandmother, my grandfather, my father, me. 4 generations removed. I can still feel it.
Historical trauma is defined as a collective and cumulative wounding across generations that is a result of massive cataclysmic events planned by government and targeting a specific group of people to control or eradicate them.
Sand Creek really hurt our people. Now that I'm older, I can see the results of the trauma, the healing that still has to take place.
These traumas are historically anchored, but they're deeply connected to ongoing policies and ongoing daily conditions that affect people's lives.
Up to today, we're still fighting with the government. We're still fighting for our land because they're taking bits and pieces here and there. They can't ever make it right.
You want me to start on this side? Yeah. Okay. Where's her other?
The historically traumatic events for Indigenous peoples really began at the colonization of this land and are connected to forced relocation, forced Christianity, and forced Western ways of being. If you have these massive interruptions to your ability to identify yourself as a cultural person, as an individual within a community, there is this loss, this deep loss.
We have a lot of poverty, unemployment on the res. Our children are going this other way. They're not taught the traditional way of life. Yet we still have our ceremonies, our culture, and our language.
The fact that we are still here is an act of absolute strength and power. And Indigenous people are incredibly resilient.
What kind of monument shall we build to a history that continues to haunt the descendants of its victims and perpetrators? Our suppressed histories will haunt us until we unbury them. History is a living thing. It must be tended to and kept on the surface of our collective consciousness.
The Sand Creek Massacre Spiritual Healing Run, it's a healing ceremony that our tribes put on to bring awareness to the event. The days we run, we think about our ancestors. We're cleansing that trail that their body parts were taken on.
It's really hard to think about, to comprehend the pain that they felt, especially the women and the children. Whenever the cold air, when they hit us, it just reminded me like, dang, you know, they suffered more.
It's hard to pray in a positive way and think about this event. Our bodies are tired from running, but yet we still want to continue. let's get to Denver and show Denver that we're still here. Being here today doesn't feel like I'm either in Montana, here, Colorado, Oklahoma. It just feels like home because our Cheyennes are here.
Welcome back. You know, it's like I was saying in the beginning, I start to concentrate and focus on those situations in history where someone had to pay the ultimate price. And sadly enough, it was usually for more land and less resistance to get that land. And I would love to think that as human beings that evolve somewhat in each and every generation, that we have moved past that desire for more. Sadly enough, in recent years, they've proven, different groups have proven time and time again, that it's really not that way. Water rights, oil rights, uranium rights, gold rights, silver rights. When is enough enough? When are we going to finally evolve past that point where all we want to do is acquire more than we can use, more than what we need? I'd like to think that sooner or later it'll happen, but I'm not holding my breath. But that's all we got for you today. I hope you enjoyed this look back at one more instance in history where enough just wasn't enough. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. God bless you. God love you. We do. And we'll see you out there.